Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to Team VRY. Now, if you're looking for an affordable iPhone, the iPhone 13 is one of the more budget-friendly devices in Apple's current lineup, but should you still get it in 2023? Let's take a look. Right, so maybe you're in the market for a new iPhone. Maybe you want to upgrade from the iPhone 11 or the iPhone SE or a much older model. The iPhone 13 is considerably cheaper than the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 15. That said though, it does come with some pros and cons, which we'll take a look in this video. Now, if you want to watch our other iPhone videos, I will drop some links below. And with that said, let's get started. Now, if you ever do decide to go for the iPhone 13, as we mentioned, it is pretty affordable, at least in terms of iPhone prices. And of course, you're getting a fairly modern design. So unlike the iPhone SE, which looks a lot like the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 7 and the 6, the iPhone 13 leans towards the design language that Apple used with the 14 and to some extent the 15 with the flat sides and the full screen design. Now, if you're looking for a super cheap full screen iPhone, you can of course go for the iPhone 11, but that of course comes with a lower resolution LCD display and it doesn't have 5G and it does come with a much older chipset, in which case the iPhone 13 is of course a more definite upgrade compared to the 11. In addition to looks, I think that the iPhone 13 still excels in terms of performance. Now, it does come with the A15 Bionic chip from Apple. It's a couple of years old at this point, but I do think that it's still impressive, especially for day-to-day use, which I guess most iPhone users are going for. So using your social media apps, web browsing, and doing all the stuff that you normally do with casual or moderate usage on an iPhone will of course be no problem at all for the iPhone 13. And you can even sneak some gaming on there. I mean, the A15 is still a terrific chip. It's still the same chip that's used in the iPhone 14 and of course the iPhone 13 Pro. And if you're not really looking for the latest high-end performance like you would get on an iPhone 15 Pro, then the 13's A15 Bionic is still a decent choice. Of course, in terms of software, it's still going to get iOS 17.1 and several years worth of updates. We do know Apple's impressive update policy for its devices, and it's safe to say that for a device released in 2021, you're still going to get several years worth of use with the iPhone 13. You're going to get a ton of the latest iOS features, and of course, compatibility with modern apps, and overall in terms of daily use, is going to be a very ideal device. And speaking of use, I do think that the battery is pretty dependable on the iPhone 13. Like, it can keep up with my daily usage. I'm not scrambling to reach a charger by the end of the day. And a lot of that, I think, is because of the A15's power efficiency. One big factor with a ton of smartphones nowadays is the camera performance. Now, the iPhone 13 can get you great shots. Just because it's an older device doesn't mean it's immediately outclassed by most devices out there. And even though it only comes with a pair of cameras on the rear panel, of course you're not going to get telephoto here, I still think that it takes great shots. The camera is very capable. And like I said, power users will of course go for a Pro model, but for a lot of folks that are after a great smartphone that's fast, efficient, can get all the basics right, and does come with iOS, the 13 will be a very capable smartphone. So yeah, design, performance, software updates, cameras, it's a pretty complete package, but of course, no smartphone is perfect. The iPhone 13 is no exception, and it does come with some downsides that you'll need to take into consideration, especially if you're still not set on the iPhone 13. Like, for one, it doesn't come with USB-C. That is of course exclusive right now to the iPhone 15 and the iPhone 15 Pro. So you're still going to get the Lightning port, you're still going to get slightly slower charging speeds. And yeah, moving forward, Apple is of course going with USB-C all the way, so the Lightning port on the 13 is something to think about. Now, it does come with a better display compared to the iPhone 11, but of course it is stuck at 60 Hz. Now, obviously Apple reserves its 120 Hz refresh rate for its more expensive Pro models. So yeah, like with USB-C, you'll have to think about if 60 Hz is a big priority for you. Personally though, it doesn't really bother me. Like, I like the way that iOS handles 60 Hz, and unless you are really used to phones with high refresh rates, like ones at 90 or 120 Hz, then the 60 Hz display on the iPhone 13 shouldn't be big of a problem to you. But of course, there are cheaper phones out there with higher refresh rates, which you might want to take into account. Of course, there are also some features that you're going to miss out on, like SOS satellite calling and crash detection. So if those features are a must-have for you, then of course you're going to want to skip the 13. But again, we go back to the price of the iPhone 13, and of course with a lower price, there are going to be some compromises. And additionally, you're not going to get dynamic island here. So if you really want to experience Apple's newest approach to the notch, then you're going to have to shell out a bit more. And yeah, so these are some of the considerations that you're going to want to think about if you're on the fence about getting the iPhone 13. With that said, it's a great choice for folks who want a fairly modern iPhone with a full screen display, 5G connectivity, a lot of the newer iPhone features. There are some compromises like no USB-C, no dynamic island, but once again, we go back to the main talking point of this phone, which is the $600 price tag. Right guys, that does it for this quick video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.